Tonight we pick up our Bible study on the Wisdom of Proverbs as we seek to learn from King Solomon and his wisdom and knowledge and understanding and insight into these sayings that God has blessed him with through his obedience and humility to God in asking for these things as he became king, that we could utilize these things in our lives and grow in our relationships with God as well. We pick up this week as we read from the Holman Christian Standard Bible in Proverbs chapter 20, and we'll pick up with verse 9. Who can say, I have kept my heart pure? I am cleansed from my sin. If we look at this from a personal standpoint of our own personal lives, what have we done for ourselves that we have kept our hearts pure? Because the Bible teaches us that all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God in Romans. So in and of ourselves, Solomon is saying, are you pure? Are you cleansed from your sin? Have you lived a life that is free from sin and need not of forgiveness? The point here is that he gains everyone's attention. We all need God's forgiveness. We all have sinned. We all fall short of God's glory. Verse 10, differing weights and varying measures, both are detestable to the Lord. In this setting in Proverbs and in biblical times, things were bought and sold by weights and measures. If you wanted some flour, say, it was put on the scale and weighed, and it was so much per pound or ounce or whatever you would, refer to today. The issue was the salespeople would have their scales weighed heavy in their favor. So what's actually happening is, instead of getting, let's say, and by today's weights and measures, let's say a pound of flour, you would get maybe a half a pound or 2/3 of a pound, but the scale would weigh that it was a pound so that the salesperson's making more money. There was a lot of deception going on in that type of atmosphere. Verse 10 of Proverbs chapter 20 says, differing weights and varying measures are detestable to the Lord, as well as the weights, the measure, the scoop, so to speak, that says this is a liter, maybe was 2/3 of a liter, so that the salesperson could make more money. Bible teaches us that these things are detestable to the Lord, not what the Lord would like to see us do. Even a young man is known by his actions, if his behavior is pure and upright. Pretty self-explanatory in verse 11 of chapter 20. Someone who is doing things, conducting themselves in ways that is upright, is going to be noticed, just as those who are doing other than what is upright. It's going to be noticed, and we're going to have tags placed upon us, so to speak. Verse 12, the hearing ear and the seeing eye, the Lord made them both. What you hear, what you see, is opened by God. If we're seeking God, how many times in the Bible do we hear he who has eyes, let him see, and those who have ears, let him hear what the Lord has to say. God is calling us to hear what he's saying, that we would take it not just superficially, but that we would hear it, we would take it in, we would see, not necessarily simply the visual And I see my Bible here, but I see what the Bible is saying to me. I hear these words spoken to me from God's Word, but I hear as to take it in and to utilize it and understand it in my life. Verse 13, don't love sleep or you will become poor. Open your eyes and you'll have enough to eat. Basically, this is referring to being lazy. Pretty self-explanatory here again. If we're not being active, if we don't go to work, make a living, we're going to be poor. Pretty self-explanatory. God is encouraging us to be active in our lives as we are active in our Christianity. To be saved and to have Jesus living in our heart is, yes, that is salvation, but are we living that life? Are we being active in growing in our relationships with God? That is one of the big reasons for this Bible study, to help us all find nuggets, I like to call them, of insight and wisdom and knowledge and understanding, that we all are not going to take everything from every word and that touch our lives and help us in that moment. But there are going to be things, if we are being active in a study of God's Word and trying to utilize that in our lives, there's going to be moments of growth that we each individually have, that God works in our own lives individually to grow us as He will. But we have to be active in seeking His will for our lives before we can grow and be the people that God has called us to be. Chapter 20, verse 14. It's worthless, the buyer says, but after he is on his way, he gloats. This is kind of almost a sarcastic call at a picture like a pair in negotiations, and the one is just upset and he's getting a bad deal and it's not working out in his favor, but I'll go ahead and make the deal with you anyway. And then when the deal's done, he turns and he leaves, and he's laughing under his breath because he just fooled you, made you think he was getting a bad deal, when all being true and said and done, he got a great deal. A little bit of deceit going on there. Verse 15, there is gold and a multitude of jewels, but knowledgeable lips are a rare treasure. One of the things we're trying to learn here is knowledge, wisdom, insight. You can have a piece of gold or some jewels and they can be pretty and they can be valuable, but to actually find a person who has wisdom, who is speaking knowledge that we can learn from and gain from, that the Lord has blessed, such as King Solomon. And that's why we're studying his Proverbs, so that we can learn from the wisdom and insight and knowledge and understanding that God gave to him, so that we can search through it and help us to gain these things. The Bible tells us here, King Solomon tells us, this is a rare treasure.